sometimes get in trouble for that because I wasn't paying attention. But in my third grade class, we actually had a poetry writing contest. And, my teacher knew that I loved to write poetry because she would catch me doing it so much. And so she entered me into this contest and actually won a prize for the whole county. So that was my first experience with writing, and I kind of got hooked ever since.
You knew that was the direction you wanted to head.
I did. When I was little, I really did know that. I think as you grow up, as kids grow up, they start to lose their dream a little bit, and it takes a lot to kind of, reel it back in. And so you kind of have to have something that pushes you to realize what your dream was and get you started again. So.
Now, were you writing principally poetry at that time?
Yeah, pretty much. And, I've always written, it's strictly been pretty much poetry. I've never really written short stories or anything like that. Actually, the book, Coincidence, is the first time I've ever actually written a story. So it was a huge leap from the poetry to writing an entire book.
But you had all of that wonderful romance and finding the ideal man, and everything was just gelling together for you to make this book a reality.
It definitely was. I've always wanted to write a book, and I don't think I could have done it if I wouldn't have met my husband. I don't think I could have, and he'd probably be completely grossed out now because I'm being so mushy, but but it's true.
Well, Coincidence is a romance. Is it principally for women, or would men enjoy it?
I would say it's probably mostly for women. I don't know many men that read romances. I could be wrong, but I would say it's definitely more for women, and, women of all ages. I think it's something that even, teenagers all the way up to, 100 years old could relate to. So it's just a fun story.
Now, for building the characters, obviously you have your husband and yourself. What about other characters in the book? Did you draw on the personalities of your parents, perhaps, or siblings or friends?
Well, I did a little bit. The characters aren't so much based on particular people in my life as they are a mixture of different people that I've met, and not necessarily close friends or family. It could just be acquaintances that I've worked with, or even just people I've met briefly. I would say probably the only character that would be based on a real person would be probably me and my husband. Yeah.
Well, you dominate the book anyway.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's okay, though. It's a romance.
That's right.
It's a romance. Now, did you have experience reading other romance writers as a backdrop to this? Were you a fan of the Harlequin series or any other authors that perhaps inspired the direction you would take?
I have liked reading romance books. I've never really read one author in particular, just any kind. I'm a big Nora Roberts fan. I do like her books. But, as far as a particular author, I don't really have a favorite. I just whatever I can get my hands on, I've always read. And a lot of it is just, the stories that are in the creases of my mind just wanting to come out. So the inspiration really wasn't from books I've read, but just what I wanted to get out of my head.
Well, now tell our audience about the setting for Coincidence. What's the area? Are they on a cruise ship, or where are they? And this coincidence of this happening, meeting, this romance envelops from there. How does it begin? Well,
sure. The setting, mostly for when the characters actually come together, is at a place called Blake Beach, South Carolina, which is a fictional town. But that's where the characters meet and come together, and, it just kind of goes from there. They're actually only in South Carolina for a short amount of time, and they both go their own separate ways. Samantha, the main character, back to West Virginia, and Sean, the other main character, back to Ireland. And then the next part of the book, it's in Ireland. So you're really in 3 different places as you read the book.
I take it you've been there.
I have been there several times, yes.
That helps.
Yes, it does.
When you're writing about characters and describing locations or things that they're doing together, it's important to have a feel for the lay of the land.
Oh, definitely. I couldn't write about it if I didn't know, what I was talking about. So,
what part of the book did you enjoy the most? Was it reliving and recapturing some of those feelings that you have for your husband?
Yeah, I did enjoy that part. I really I just like the sort of the adventure that the main character takes on. She's not a very adventurous person in the beginning, but she completely transforms herself once she meets Sean in South Carolina. And just watching her transformation really, that would have to be my favorite part.
And then conversely, on the other side of the coin, were there moments you struggled and really had to think hard or write vigorously to come up with the right words or right setting?
I really, people have asked me that before. There really wasn't a time when I struggled to come up with the right words or to write. As soon as I sat down, I pretty much knew what I wanted to write. I just didn't really know exactly how I was going to get to what I wanted to write. And so it was just a lot of, sitting and typing and deleting and retyping. And the storyline, I never had writer's block, or I never had any struggle at all with getting the book done. I finished it pretty quickly in 4 months. So I don't know. I don't know.
How did when you were through there it is. I mean,
yeah.
now what did you do? I mean, I have this book. I've written it. I'm happy with it. What was the next step?
Well, the next step, anybody will tell you, especially first-time authors, is the hardest part, is trying to find a publisher. After you write it and you reread it and you edit it yourself, you have to go through that process of trying to find somebody to publish this work that you've just spent so much time on, and that's really the most difficult part. I wrote query letters. I wrote synopsis of the book and sent it out to literary agents, and you just get rejection letter after rejection letter, and it really takes a toll on you. And then finally, after 50, 60 rejection letters, you finally get someone interested in publishing it, and it's just like it's a surreal experience. But, that really is the hardest part. It took me about 4 months to find a publisher after I was done writing the book. So.
Yeah, and sticking with it, thinking, oh my, will anyone ever pick this book up? But certainly wingsepress.com, they recognize the value of your work, and they took the project on. Now, tell us about that relationship. Did they provide an editor and artist for your cover? To what extent did they work with you in creating the book?
They did. They're a great publishing company. I can't say enough good stuff about them, but they did. They provided an editor for me to work with, and that was, oh my goodness, an eye-opening experience.